Welcome to Borak Times, the fallout, where we unravel the hidden consequences and unexpected twists of global power plays. In this segment, we dive deep beneath the surface of international sanctions, policies and political maneuvers to expose how the best-laid plans can backfire, creating ripples that shake economies, disrupt alliances, and reshape the world as we know it. Tonight, we dive into the tangled web of international sanctions imposed on Iran and Russia by the United States and its allies over the past 3 decades. What was intended to be a strategic move to curb nuclear ambitions, punish territorial aggressions, and champion human rights has instead led to a stunning case of economic self-sabotage. The fallout from these sanctions hasn't just hit the target countries, it's also blowing back on Western economies with a vengeance. And let's be honest, this boomerang effect is making quite the mess. A sanctions history lesson or how to shoot yourself in the foot. The United States started playing the sanctions game with Iran back in the early 1990s, aiming to rein in Iran's support for terrorism and its nuclear aspirations. The big guns came out in 1996 with the Iran and Libya Sanctions Act, targeting Iran's energy sector, the very lifeblood of its economy. Fast forward to 2012, the National Defense Authorization Act tightened the noose even further, hammering Iran's oil exports and financial sector. Just when it looked like there might be some relief with the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, the rug was pulled out in 2018, when the US backed out and reinstated the full force of sanctions. Not to be outdone, Russia found itself on the receiving end after the 2014 annexation of Crimea. The sanctions started with a focus on the financial, energy and defense sectors and have only grown nastier with each passing year, especially after the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The intent was clear: bring Russia to its knees economically. But here's where the story takes a twist. Economic impact on Iran and Russia, not exactly a knockout. Yes, Iran and Russia have taken some serious hits. Iran's economy, already fragile, has been teetering on the brink. Oil exports have plunged, the rial has plummeted into an abyss of hyperinflation, and ordinary Iranians are facing a harsh reality of recession and restricted access to global finance. Russia, too, has felt the burn with GDP growth slowing, the ruble losing its swagger, and capital fleeing the country like rats from a sinking ship. But despite these sanctions, Russia is still standing. Through fiscal discipline, hefty foreign reserves and shrewd trade deals, Russia has managed to weather the storm. Backfire on the West, when your own bullets come back. Here's where things get really interesting, or tragic, depending on your point of view. The sanctions meant to cripple Iran and Russia have done quite a number on Western economies as well. Take Iran, for instance. The sanctions have stirred up the global oil market like a hornet's nest, with Iran still managing to sell oil, particularly to China, while everyone else faces higher energy prices. Europe and the US, major oil importers, have been left to foot the bill. And it's not just about energy. Big European players like Total, Siemens and Airbus have had to kiss goodbye to lucrative contracts in Iran, resulting in billions of dollars in losses. Germany, the economic powerhouse of Europe, is feeling the sting particularly hard. Its industrial giants, dependent on exports and international contracts, have seen deals vaporize. And when Germany sneezes, the rest of Europe catches a cold. Countries like Austria, the Netherlands and Poland, deeply integrated into the German supply chain, are now facing the domino effect of these sanctions. With rising energy costs, inflation and economic slowdown, it's like Europe decided to run a marathon in lead shoes. The British economy, meanwhile, is currently doing its best impression of a Jenga tower on the brink of collapse. Already battered by Brexit and the pandemic, the UK now finds itself grappling with sky-high energy costs, inflation, and a currency that's lost its stiff upper lip. Financial markets are in turmoil, and the government's economic policies seem to be as stable as a house of cards in a wind tunnel. If this continues, Britain might find itself nostalgic for the days when their biggest worry was finding tea leaves in their brew. Supply chain chaos and retaliatory sanctions the cherry on top. As if all this wasn't enough, sanctions have thrown global supply chains into disarray. Critical commodities like palladium, nickel and wheat, key ingredients for everything from car parts to your breakfast, have seen supply disruptions, driving up costs and creating shortages. Russia, never one to take a punch lying down, has retaliated with its own sanctions, hitting Western agricultural products and sending food prices soaring. Europe's inevitable collapse? So where does this leave us? Europe, already grappling with the fallout from these sanctions, is teetering on the edge. The very fabric of its economies is unraveling as energy prices soar, inflation skyrockets and industries buckle under the strain. And here's the kicker. As the economic pain intensifies, Europe might just start questioning its close ties with the United States. If Washington's strategies keep dragging Europe into economic quagmires, we could see a growing rift that threatens to split the Western alliance. Europe could very well decide it's had enough of playing second fiddle to US foreign policy, leading to a significant geopolitical shift. A comedy of errors with tragic consequences. In conclusion, the sanctions on Iran and Russia have not only failed to bring these countries to their knees, but have also inflicted serious damage on Western economies. The interconnectedness of today's global economy means that sanctions are no longer a one-way street. They're a boomerang that comes right back at you. And right now, it looks like the West is learning this lesson the hard way. Stay tuned to Borak Times as we continue to unravel the complex and often ironic realities of global economics and geopolitics. Good night, and keep your economic seatbelts fastened.